Hi everyone, I'm Mark, and just wanted to talk to you about a couple things. Now, I think my title was like History of Sourcing, I think Shannon put on there or something like that, but I've altered it. I've altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Okay, so a couple things. Everyone knows what sourcing is by now, right? It's not like a new thing. Um, and if you don't know who this is, then you should really educate yourself. Speaking of good writing, you should probably read about this guy because his writing is very good. Okay, so when you're sourcing, though, a lot of times you hit the wall, and this happens no matter where you work, no matter what company you work for, no matter what industry you work for. I always talk to sourcers and recruiters, and they're always hitting the wall when it comes to sourcing. It becomes stagnant, right? And you feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But there are some reasons for that. And not to blame anyone, but there are some people that we can blame. Now, granted, these tools, they kind of make the process quicker for us. Like they want you to stay in that world, whatever the tool is, right? They want you to stay in that world. They don't want you to leave. They want you just to use that one tool. But that can make your search views like myopic. And over reliance on one tool will negatively impact your sourcing results, and relying on one data source can cause ROMO. What is ROMO? What does that even mean? Oh, the reality of missing out. Yeah, that's a thing. Look it up. So when it comes to sourcing, most sourcers are kind of like this. Yeah, give me my LinkedIn recruiter license, a Seek Out account, and access to Gem, and I can start. Oh yeah, and a sourcer and a coordinator to assist me. But that's not really it. And so when it comes to sourcing, you want to avoid what I call the deadly sourcing sins, right? So the deadly sourcing sins, what are those? Well, pride, which is over reliance on one search tool, gluttony, overusing filters, envy, blindly copying search methods, vanity, not researching before sourcing, sloth, not automating as much when possible, greed, spamming your candidates, and lust, not following up with candidates. So I'm not going to be able to go through all of these, but I'm just going to give you a couple of things here. Oh yeah, I couldn't find something for anger. Yeah, I couldn't find an analogy for that one. But watching sources and recruiters commit these deadly sourcing sins makes me very angry, like Hulk angry. Okay, so let's talk some solutions. So a couple things. When it comes to sourcing, one of the biggest ones is pride. Pride is a big one. Over reliance on one search tool. A lot of people will say, "Well, I can't find any more engineers. I've hit the end of the search engine. I've hit the last page in Google, whatever that is." But that's never the case. And so you always want to try and figure out ways to go around that. So over reliance on one search tool, everyone has been guilty of this. And truth be told, again, those software vendors create their platforms in ways that you never have to leave them. But only using one tool is like sourcing with blinders on. And so you're kind of like penance to this, this sin is actually kind of fun. You just use multiple sourcing tools. And it's all right if you have a main sourcing tool, but just make sure that there's others that you might want to use. And there might be some other ones that are better suited depending on the role or the industry or the job. So when you look at your like list of like sourcing tools, like you shouldn't just have like one tool in your like, sourcing quiver, right? This is like most sourcers out there, or I'd say probably like, yeah, 90% of sourcers out there, but that shouldn't be the case, right? You should be using multiple things, like maybe Hire Easy, Seek Out. You should be using Facebook. You should be sourcing blogs. You should be using user groups, associations, code sharing sites, Google custom search engines, patents, white papers, right? And as always, the ATS should be your first sourcing tool. Okay, that's very important. So here's just an example of that. I don't have time to do like tons of examples for you, but I thought I would throw in just a couple. Let's say you're looking for a licensed family therapist located in Stockton. Yay, Stockton. Okay, we could use LinkedIn, and that's fine, right? Just go into LinkedIn, you type in some keywords like mental health, psychiatric or psychiatrist, family license or license, right? A basic search string. And you get some results. Okay. I have my location, I have Stockton, I got my results right here. So that's cool. But what if I need more results, or what if I need different results? This is what, again, 90% of sources are doing. So what if I want something different? Well, think outside the box, right? Try NPI number searches or search board certified licensed professionals by state, right? That's a thing that you can do. Just go over here to our state government website here in California, search the right board or the right bureau, search for the right license, search for the right city. And voila, look at that, 307. And I have all these individuals with names, numbers, address, location, all that good stuff. So that's just a way that you can kind of think outside the box there. Okay, here's another sin to talk about, gluttony. Yes, gluttony. I'm just realizing this presentation sounds a little like a LinkedIn bashing presentation. I didn't mean it to sound like that. But gluttony, overusing filters, right? Again, these tools make it very easy for you to just select all these drop downs and then you have your search. But there's a problem with that, right? There's a problem with selecting all these things because when you select all these options, these are probably the same options that everybody else is doing, right? And so starting off every search with those filters, that can be a bad thing. Starting every search off with, yes, I want candidates from Google, Facebook, Amazon, right? That's the same thing that everybody is doing. So don't do that. Because most of the time when you use those filters, all of your searches end up looking like this, right? Let's say you're looking for a software engineer. This becomes your LinkedIn search. And so if you're doing this and everybody else is doing this, of course you're going to get burned out on the results, right? The results are going to look like that. So this is problematic. One reason is because every LinkedIn profile doesn't have complete info. When you do all of those drop downs, you're counting on the fact that every LinkedIn profile is going to be nice and filled out like a resume or a CV, but that's never the case. So by overusing filters, you're losing out on candidates that are a fit. So this exact same search, of course, is being run by thousands of other sources and recruiters. So no wonder the response rates are low. The candidates are getting burnt out on contacted from the same sources and recruiters. So the solution for this, write a good search string. Okay, we're talking sourcing. Let's just write a good search string. Only use filters if you have to, and expand your list of keywords and competitors. If you do this, you'll have a larger list of possible candidates. So here's an example. I think we have time for one more example here. I need a senior software engineer who develops software for server infrastructure or DevOps or similar, whatever similar means. And I want them to come from companies and industries like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. Easy. Oh yeah, I need them in Austin, Texas. So here's what you might do. You might say, okay, senior software engineer from Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon. And then you type in your search, infrastructure or DevOps. And you think, yes, I am totally sourcing. I even selected Austin, Texas, and senior software engineer, right? You're going to get some results with that. But is that really the results? Like, are these really the results that you want? Right? So it gives you some results. That's great. But really, it's not really a good job. Instead, what you want to do is write a good search string. And so you do that by taking each piece of the puzzle and writing a search string around it, right? You need a senior software engineer. Okay, well, put together a string so that can capture many different levels of senior software engineer, like principal or staff. And then I'll put in some keywords for server infrastructure or DevOps. Well, that's a little better, right? Because there's a lot of keywords that have to do with infrastructure or development operations. And I want them to come from companies like Google, Meta, Amazon. That's fine. I'll put them in there, but also put in companies that deal with things like server farms, distributed software, data centers, cloud platforms, stuff like that. Now I have many more choices. And so now when I take the string and run it, my 108 results, which was a little sad, becomes, oh, look at that, 1,300. So that's the difference between, you know, doing the keyword thing and coming up with a search string. It's brilliant, bloody brilliant. Okay, one last thing to kind of talk about here. Here, let me escape out of this. When you are trying to copy search methods, that's like a big one, right? Copying search methods. You're going to see all kinds of people who give you something and you just copy it and just run it, right? It's human nature. Everyone's looking for a shortcut to get to whatever the answer is. But what works for one sourcer might not work for another. So we know that everyone does this, but blindly doing it without understanding how it works is a definite no-no. And so the penance for this one, analyze everything in that search and adjust it for your roles. And researching can help you expand your search results. And again, if every sourcer is running the same search, the response rate is going to look the same. So when you get a string from someone or see a method, understand how it's working and why it's working. And if there's no documentation, well, then Google the answer, right? If the search is working, figure out why is it working? And are there too many false positives in the results? So here's an example. I'm looking for a product marketing manager or product manager in the Bay Area who works in gaming. Your friend says, hey, I've had success sourcing on Facebook. Great. Well, then they send you a string and you just copy it blindly without validating it. They're like, hey, check out this cool string that I ran. I worked a couple of years ago. Let's run it. And then they say goodbye to you. And then you run this string and you get this. And you're like, why? So instead of crying about it, figure out the solution. And there is a solution. Look at what's on a page that's available to you. Try and replicate the search for a profile. Here's a profile. See, what can I use on this page that will get me to this person? And if you do a little bit of research, you'll see that that profile picture is on the page of every individual person on Facebook. But then you think, well, that string that that person gave me said profile photo. So it's not really profile photo, it's actually profile picture. So I should probably fix that. And when you fix it and then run that string, you'll realize, oh, I understand how it's working because now I'm pulling up results. And so whenever you're running a search, you always want to question it and try and figure out why is it working so that you can kind of change it and make it work for the search that you're doing.